All right, good morning, traders. This is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar, and I already pulled up the bias chart for us. And real quick before we start, so Dow futures are up 51 points, S&P futures are up 8, Nasdaq futures are up 16. Gold's up $5 right now. Copper down 2%. Crude's down 1.5% on the session as of right now, but we'll take a look at crude a little bit later. And you know, bonds are a little weaker today as yields are higher. But I'm actually I'm excited to take a look at the euro dollar because I actually want to sell it a little higher today. So let's go over to the euro dollar. Let's start there and let's see what we've got. So, you know, looking at the euro, we were following this channel last week, and you can see us, uh, uh, you know, going into Friday. All right, let's go back to like the non-farm payroll. So here's the non-farm payroll. We bust down to 108, and I know post non-farm payroll we were sitting here around the 108.20, and I'm like, man, if you guys want to take a long, you know, a shot at it long and just put your stops below 108, you can do it. And I know a few of you guys did. I did not take that trade, but we actually, that was a really great opportunity. we rallied all the way back. I didn't think we'd make it back to this resistance, and what we did, and here, let me go ahead and remove that from Friday. We actually pushed above this resistance. You can see we pushed above this resistance in Sunday trade, and we probably just whacked all these stops above these highs, but I think ultimately this resistance is going to be very key. This is going to be like, this is where if you're on the short side and we get a close above this 109.50, that's going to be some pretty key resistance. What I'm actually looking for today is I'm looking for a rally up to 109.50, and then I'm going to be a seller. So I actually think this channel is still going to play. I just want to sell into that strength if we can get it. So any rally into 109.50, I think, is going to be a nice selling opportunity if we can get it. Actually, I think we might actually stop short of that. Here, I'm gonna go real intraday, just really quick. I want to see something. Move this over. By the way, yes, rest in peace, David Bowie. He passed away after an 18-month battle with cancer, which, you know, if you're like me, I grew up in the 80s, you know, and David Bowie was, you know, he was an idol, he was an icon. You know, I enjoyed a lot of his music growing up, and so it's sad to see such a awesome musician like that pass away. So anyway, David Bowie passed away at the age of 69. Okay, 109.30, that's probably a realistic better expectation today. So let's mark that up. 109.30. It'll be some horizontal resistance, and if we can get there this morning, I might actually take a short while we're here. Okay, so 1.0930. I actually think the euro is going lower. I just, you know, if the stock market pulls back, like right now, you can see how the stock market is pulling back. Whenever the stock market pulls back, the euro dollar will rally a little bit. So that should be good resistance. Support today will be this 108.70. You know, if we break through that, then we're gonna, you know, start coming all the way back down towards non-farm payroll levels. So 108.70. And we are in a range environment. Let me grab a sip of my coffee, please. Okay, let's go over to the cable. So I got asked about the euro pound. You know, I actually want to be a buyer on the euro pound. I do want to buy it. I have not gotten long. You guys, you know, saw my blog post from last week. I'm sure most of you seen it. So the euro pound, I think, is in breakout territory. 75 pence was really key resistance. This is the euro pound, guys, and I'm gonna try to buy a dip if we get down to like 74, maybe 74.50 or so. I want to play it off of the off of a pullback. So I think the euro pound is in breakout major breakout territory. So now I'm gonna just look for dips. All right, let's go into the cable though. So here's the pound. Now the pound, the scary thing about the pound is it closed below, this, if closed in breakdown territory. We are rallying back right now. The cable is, like I always say to you guys, it's very efficient at setting up false breakdowns. Okay, it really is. It, it, right now, we have a you know uh, uh, a resistance level that I think is key that will turn the cable higher, and then we can start looking at it as being a serious false breakdown. In the event that we break 146, I'll just call that 146.45. Okay, if we break through that, I might actually buy it. Excuse me. Thank you. 146.45. If we break that resistance, I might actually start buying the cable, just as a squeeze type of play. But we are in a bearish trend. We can't ignore the fact that we're in a very bearish trend here. But the risks to a false breakdown, are good. Now, what I think is going to happen is just like the euro dollar. The euro dollar is bouncing, but I think it's going to stall, at the 109.30, 109.40 level. I think the cable, bounces to 146, probably not a bad place to be on the short side, because we broke down. We actually had the weekly chart that broke down in closed in breakdown territory. So if risk appetite in the equity markets improve, okay, if it improves, then I think that the dollar will improve, and the dollar will improve against the cable as well. So that means that this bounce that you're seeing here, remember, it's still very early in the day, so the bounce that you're seeing here in the cable will probably fail. So I think that if you get a rally above 146, it'll do something like this. You see a little rally here, and then it'll fade, which I don't mind shorting the cable up here. I don't. If I can get my hands on some a little bit later. All right, support for today, or for right now. I mean, your hourly support's at 145.50, but I think really support is going to be probably down here, at 145. Yeah, that's going to be support for right now. It is very weak. I mean, I know it's bouncing right now, but it's overall very, very weak. And it's deceiving. I know a lot of you guys want to start playing it on the long side at this time of the day, but overall, if you are, scalp out of it, because you're really fighting a pretty strong trend. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Let's go take a look at the Swissy. So the Swissy got the snot beat out of it on Friday. I was kind of upset about that. I was like, what the hell? Here we are on Friday. We had this non-farm payroll, right? Non-farm payroll. Then we started just slide, right? Then last night when the market opened, we dipped all the way down to 98.80, and I was I was watching football. We had here in the United States, we have American football playoffs. It was a wild card weekend, and I was sitting there watching football, and I'm watching my account, and I'm just like, holy cow! There was no liquidity. I mean, none. And there was some news over the weekend about Jordan from the Swiss National Bank said that Swiss franc is overvalued. Blah blah blah. Anyway, it was really very thin liquidity, but it kind of a lot of stops got tripped. Then it reversed, and it was very short-lived, that move. And you can see it was like just a stop run. We pushed through these lows, not enough to close the candle below, but you can see this was, remember, think about it, this wick last night, or for me it was last night, yesterday evening, that wick was red, right there. It looked kind of scary. I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be this is going to be a nasty start to the week, is what I was thinking. But we reversed. It was just like I said, it was very thin liquidity. We reversed, and we headed higher. Now the thing about the Swissy though, that is going to be really key support. I believe that this 99.20 level is really critical. I think that sorry, 0.9920. I think that move below support was just, like I said, very thin liquidity. All right. So resistance now is going to be the overnight highs, which comes in at 99.89, or I can just actually say, parity is going to be a big deal. Here, let's go back out here again. Okay, 618. You guys know that was incredibly strong support, and the 618 last week was extremely key resistance on the way up. Right, so that's both really important why we have those, the 618 here and the 618 here, but we can remove this one. We just don't need it at the moment. We might need it in the future, but we don't need it right now. Okay, so yeah, I believe parity is going to be key. So let's mark that up, parity. Stand by really quick. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at the dollar yen. So here's the dollar yen. As I had mentioned to you guys, I'm expecting a bounce in risk appetite. Okay, and we have completed a double top, or triple top, or quadruple top, whatever. I'm going to tweet this chart because I think this chart's pretty important. So let's do this. Let me minimize these. Okay, that way. I think this is important for everybody to see as far as risk appetite goes. Shit, come on, man. All right, fine. You know what? I'm just deleting them, and I'll draw new ones. Oops. All right, fine. However it works. It works all the same. But, okay. Okay. And you know what? To our Wise Trade customers, I sent out the E-mini futures. 2 charts you should take note of. Range extension of SPX and US dollar, Japanese yen, completion. Which I put range extension, but it's really a double or a triple top, however you want to look at it. But I just don't have enough. I don't have enough real estate to write them both. But I'm putting in both charts. 1 Okay. So there's the dollar yen and the SPX. So the reason why I'm posting those charts is because if you're out there shorting equities, like risk, like if you're shorting the dollar, if you're buying yen or you're shorting the S&P, you got to be really careful because we've extended both of our ranges, and so being on the short side, you just have to realize that this is really key support. Now, Dan, so uh, what I'm hoping for here, is I'm hoping for a rally today or over the next couple of days. I want to see the dollar yen rally back towards towards 120, maybe 119 and change, and then I want to look to buy yen. Or if you guys are looking to short the S&P, you want to short the S&P hopefully after a rally this week. Now, that's all hope. Hope is not a trading strategy. You guys understand that, right? Hope is not a trading strategy when you're in a trade. Hope is a trading strategy when you're planning trades. There's a difference. Oh, that's a good quote. Hold on. Hope is not a good strategy when you are in a trade, but hope is a good strategy when you are planning them. Damn, that's a good quote. Somebody needs to quote me on that one. That was a good one. I have to say, that was pretty good, huh? I don't usually have good ones like that, but like for me, like right now, I don't have any yen exposure. I hope the yen gets to 120. I hope the yen gets to 120, because if it gets to 120, I'm going to short the piss out of it. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Let's go. Let's go back. Okay. So here's the dollar yen. So I mean, bottom line is where's support? I mean, that's a 4-hour chart. Hourly charts. I mean, I would assume, just making an assumption here, and this is a really tough chart to read, but for today, like this will be resistance. Okay, that's going to be pretty key resistance right through here, like 118.70, and then I would assume that any move down here to 17 is going to be really good support. So, and I don't even know if we're going to make it all the way up there. This is probably more realistic for today. I'm just trying to be realistic on expectations today, especially when there's no real key, there's no economic data that's going to move the needle much. So 118, 118.15, 117.10. Okay, I mean 117. Oops. 117.10, 118.15, and we are in a, oh, I'm sorry, I take that back. We're in a bearish trend, okay? Okay, so there's a bearish trend there. Okay, dollar Canadian. Now, I explained to you guys this yesterday, or from last night, but I'm going to explain it again. I shorted the dollar Canadian. I shorted a lot of it last night. My nephew he came into the office. I was showing him something, and I noticed the dollar Canadian where it was at. We were at like 171, 79. We were like right here. It was during the football playoffs, and I looked over and I said, "Oh, I need to short some, more dollar Canadian." And so what I did is I shorted two times the amount I wanted to. So then I covered some of it because I didn't want to be so aggressive, and it covered up my my short from last week where I was short like right here at like 141.15, I think my cost average was. So my account shows then I'm up 70 pips in my trade, but I locked in a loss overnight in my, because it's FIFO. The US or US FX brokers use FIFO. So realistically, my cost average is probably around 140, 150, but I got a decent cost average now. It's really good. It's at 141.79, 73. But anyway, I think 142 was key. It was key because that was our weekly target. So 142 is critical resistance today. Now, support is easy, okay, and this is a very bullish trend. You guys know I'm going counter trend in this trade. Today, 140.50 is really key support. Okay, why is it key support? It's because that's what held last week. It's right here. Very, very critical support. Now, obviously, if we break that, and then 140 is going to be the next key support after that. 140 is where the rubber meets the road. A lot of people asked me last week, where is where is my target for the dollar Canadian, my short dollar Canadian? My answer is when we get to 140, I'll figure it out, because the key is where what happens at 140. That's really that's always that's going to be key in my opinion. Okay. All right, dollar Canadian. Let's go over to the Kiwi. Here's the Kiwi. So the Kiwi rejection again. This is the big sell zone. Remember, we have this big resistance. I actually am still short the Kiwi, and I'm short right here. I am short at 65.73, and while we're here, I'm going. You know what? I'm going to sit in it. I have a short Kiwi from last week, and I think my fear is right now being short the Kiwi dollar here is that risk appetite starts to improve, so the Kiwi starts to bounce. I was just about ready to add to my position, but I'm going to be a little careful here. Resistance is at 66, if actually probably a little bit above that. Resistance is going to be at 66.10. If we break above 66.10, if we break above 66.10, that's going to create a squeeze, in my opinion. I don't think I want to be short the Kiwi dollar if we break back above 66.10. Support. I'm looking at this, but I'm thinking, I'm looking at that right now, but I think 165 is really key support. Okay, I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm going to go get some more coffee. When I come back, we'll continue on with the Aussie, the dollar index, the Canadian, yada, yada, yada. So I'll be back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I want to welcome you all back. So we were finishing up with the rest of these majors. Let's go take a look at the Aussie and see where we're at with the Aussie dollar. Now, the Aussie is another currency like the Kiwi dollar that if risk appetite improves, the Aussie dollar could bounce. We obviously hit a lot of really critical support areas last week. You can see us coming into a lot of support. Now we're out testing. Here, let's remove some of this, and we're going to come back to it. All right, so a lot of support down here. This is almost like a zone. So let's remove this and take a rectangle. And let's do this. I have to extend out a little bit, but oops, that's not what I wanted. I want this there. Okay, so this is a really big zone. I think that's going to be very important for bulls moving forward. and you can see we're creating a really nice hammer already from the lows. Now, resistance, we're already pressing previous support, is acting as current resistance right now. That's indeed what's stalling us. All right, right here. And I think we've already snapped the downsloping trend line. So, I mean, the risks are that we continue higher here. You see something else, because this seems like a 618 right now. It is. Well, close to anyway. 70-20. So if we can break 70-20, which is very close to where we're at, yeah, if we can break 70-20, I mean, we might start to squeeze a little here. But that's going to be key. 70-44 comes in as a little previous support. Man, if you ask me, it looks like the Aussie's going to squeeze here. I mean, that's just, my opinion. And I'm long the Aussie New Zealand. I'm not long Aussie anywhere else, but Aussie's starting to squeeze as I'm speaking, actually. So yeah, if we break above the 720, it's going to squeeze. I'm just going to write down resistance as 70-75, but it looks like it's going to bounce. 70-75. We're at the lower end of our range. Guys, if you want to, take on a little risk appetite, you can always short some pound Aussie, go long some Aussie dollar if you want. So support is going to be right here. 16. Oh, look at it. The Aussie's already starting to squeeze. Look at that. Aussie dollar is starting to squeeze here. I really am considering shorting some Euro Aussie. Hold on really fast. What is that? What was that? Huh. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, guys. 618. I have to short some Euro Aussie. Sorry. I'm going to do it. Where in the hell is my Euro Aussie? 155.29. I sold some. Yeah. Yeah, this looks like it's going to roll over pretty good. I don't mind adding to that too. This is a AB equals CD move, and then we also hit a 618 retracement. Bam. That looks like a decent short. Okay. Anyway, I was dealing with the Aussie, so what was that? 69.80? Let me get back to that. 69.85. Okay. All right, let's take a look at the dollar index. Now, you you guys know that the dollar index has been moving a lot with risk appetite. So if stocks improve, the dollar will probably improve as well. Oops, sorry, I didn't want that. Okay. Okay. There it is. So 98.70. If we break this, here, let me grab a pen. If we break this resistance here, we're gonna get a little squeeze, okay? But the key resistance is gonna be right through here. Oops. $98.70. Support be right here. 98.30. Okay. Let's take a look at the peso. As I told you guys, I'm short at 17.95 on the peso. Shorted this last night. We hit the 161% extension, and I personally think that the peso is coming right back down to 17.47. So same numbers as before. I am trading counter trend. You guys know I'm trading counter trend right now on a few things. Dollar Canadian, peso, support 17.4700. That's going to be key support. Resistance is 18.000. That's obviously key resistance. And it is bullish. And like I said, I am trading counter trend. I'm very well aware of that. Let's take a look at the, okay, so if crude oil bounces, this US dollar Norwegian krona is probably a decent short. Okay, it probably is. I think that the US dollar Norwegian krona is going to be more influenced by crude than the rest of the dollar complex, but because you have to be careful, because if stocks rally, the dollar is going to rally too, in my opinion. But I'm not sure what to do with the Norwegian krona unless crude is really bouncing. If crude is really bouncing, then you know. So I think 9 is resistance, but I'm not going to put the Norwegian krona up there right now. And the US dollar Swedish krona is just bouncing around between, these support and resistance levels. Nothing super exciting is happening here at all. Okay. Okay. So here's your bias chart. There it is. And let me see if I can take some of your questions. So